This is the Stubborn German Podcast. I'm Kevin Ostie, coming to you from the very active Stubborn German Brewing Company here in also very active and lovely Waterloo, Illinois. Joined as always by the proprietor of the Stubborn German Brewing Company, Mr. Chris Ron.
Hey, Kevin, what's going on?
Everything's going on around here. Look at it, it's crazy.
It's great. It's awesome.
We're also joined by our esteemed producer, Mr. Jared Chasso.
Hello. How are you?
And our very special guest, Mr. Jeremy Witt.
Thank you for having me.
Or in German, it's Witt.
Witt.
Das ist gut, ja.
Are you related to Katarina by any chance?
I wish.
I wouldn't want to be related to her, but
I wish.
Well, I was thinking more the financial gains
There
of
you
that, right?
go.
Okay.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Well,
Katarina.
Jeremy's here to...
a rare Katarina Witt event.
Dude, I've been holding on to that one since episode 0. We're going to be talking about this interesting little thing that we call bourbon pretty soon. But before we dive into all that, there's a tradition here on the Stubborn German Podcast, and it's a game that's nearly impossible to win, and it's called the German Word of the Day.
Yeah, and Jeremy has participated
I was
before.
going to say,
Jeremy was in on
return
the
guest.
Yeah.
He was
Kugelschreiber.
Kugelschreiber.
He
Yeah.
remembers the word.
Wow.
So
The lasting impression. I like it.
for sure.
So the German word of the day for today happens to be, well, I can't find it, so it isn't. Jagen. Jagen.
It sounds like there should be
Short
more to
and
that, like Jagen Schwartz or something.
No, it's just Jagen.
Jagen.
Well, Kevin, we always defer to our guests.
We sure do.
We try to be
correct.
polite
We're polite.
here. Jagen.
Jagen.
I was immediately thinking yolk, like egg yolk. I don't know why, but
Ooh.
a yolk.
Egg Jagen.
Egg Jagen.
I
Okay.
can use some egg yolk.
Yolk. Is it yolk or yolk?
Yolk.
All right.
Kevin, what do you think?
Oh, sure. Jagen.
Gotcha.
Jared defers.
Is it a J? J-A-G?
It is a J.
Jagen.
J-A-G-E-N.
It's not Jagen or
It's I believe the J is silent. It's
I get that.
apparently you just run a lot.
a soft J.
Jagen.
Jagen.
I think it's a very light springtime jacket.
Interesting.
And now he's typing it word for word again. I'm going to pull this out at the end and prove how much of it.
He's got his microphone tucked under his neck. He looks like a time-lapse operator.
It's a rare moment of silence from Mr. Ron. If you noticed how the show is so enjoyable for a minute.
Right, for about 30 seconds right there. Yep. Jared, what you got? Jagen.
Josh Birchbacher in the house.
That's not what
Celebrity
Jagen
guest.
means.
No, it's not.
Jagen, let's see.
You look chilly. Do you want to put on a Jagen?
Exactly. Well, I was leaning towards, but I know it's not wagon, because that would be like Wagen.
Ooh, yes. Very
But Jagen,
Look at this
let's
guy.
see.
I know. good. He's killing it.
I'm
You
gonna
doing Rosetta
say-
Stone on
I
us?
have been. I practice every night.
It's not cool.
No learning the language.
Yeah, come on. We all know the rules.
I'm going to say... It's not right, but I'm going to say annual.
Annual.
As in yearly. Annual. Yearly.
Annual/yearly. Got it.
Stubborn Fest is a Jagen event. Is what you're trying
It
to
is a
tell me.
Jagen fest. Hey, Josh, what's going on?
Josh Pershbarker in the house.
He has a fresh batch of salsa in the works. It's
I
gonna be ready.
saw that Facebook post and it looked yummy.
It
It was
does look-
on the smoker, I
Yes.
guess, right?
And this will be
Smoked.
available at the farmer's market.
I think
believe
not this
so.
weekend, but next weekend. I think
Really?
the 10th.
Needs a little time. You know what I'm
it's
saying?
got a season.
Yeah.
Yep.
I heard somebody talk about him, and they referred to him as the pickle guy.
I mean,
It's not a bad gig.
There's worse things
if
to
you
be
can
called.
get it.
I guess so.
Pickle guy.
The pickle guy.
So, speaking of that, Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Once again, thank you for
So
having me.
speaking of that,
I don't know. I don't know.
How you been?
I don't have any pickles out here in front of me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, that's kind of a good thing.
yeah,
So we were chatting before this episode got started, of course, about bourbon. We talk a lot about beer and a lot about spirits here, and bourbon in particular. And Chris mentioned that this is an interesting time of the year for those who like to seek out the collector varieties. And you called it hunting season for bourbon?
it is. Yeah, I mean
That's a thing?
Yeah, a lot of people, they wait till somewhere right around September, I would say even through November, depending on what is your jam, so to speak. For whatever bourbon interests you the most.
Bourbon jam sounds
But
good.
yes, that'd be tasty.
Bourbon jam does not sound bad.
But it depends on what you like, and I know a really popular rye that comes around in November that people look for midwinter.
From High West.
Midwinter Nights Dram.
Yes.
So you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for that one, but October is prime bourbon hunting season.
Dude, even our Van Winkle allocations don't actually show up to our front door until November or December. They're released, quote unquote, by the distillery in October, but yeah, they don't show up here until the end of the year. So hunting season around here is September 1st through the end of the year.
I think we need to clarify some things.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
we've got allocations and seasons and releases.
This should be a podcast.
Yeah.
Just
It's a
on
great
this.
idea.
Let's do it.
How does this work? You don't just buy bourbon whenever you want from big giant
you know what would
distillery?
be awesome is a bottle of George T. Stagg
Yes.
right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't get that.
And why
They
can't
didn't
you?
make it. They didn't make it last year.
Yeah, they didn't even make it last year.
Well,
Yeah.
that's part
What?
of the problem.
right.
Okay.
They decided not to. But yeah, so when we talk about hunting season or whatever, we're talking about hunting for those like allocated, rare, hard to find, high-end, expensive bottles. Usually that would sell for more on the secondary market than what you are paying, at a liquor store. Depending on the liquor store you go to. Because in the way this all works, the distillery will charge the same amount to every distributor that they sell all their whiskey to, right? So the price is the same for everybody. Then from the distributor it goes to the liquor license holder, the retail. So it can be on premise or off premise. They consider us on premise because of the bar. While we do have a bottle shop, so we're a little bit of both. We're kind of a weird one,
Multi-premise.
we are multi-premise. But yeah,
Does on-premise mean you sell it to consume here, like
exactly.
by the shop?
It's
or
where
by
it's
the pour?
consumed.
Okay.
Yeah. So on-premise is a bar. Off-premise would be like a liquor store.
Okay.
So yeah. So I mean that's really where.
And then so do you have primary and secondary market under the same roof here then? Is that what that means? Or
I mean no because
you're a first-tier
Chris is a
retailer.
really good guy, and he's not one of those
see I had Jeremy on for the ego stroke. So
price
keep going.
gougers.
So he
Yeah.
charges Kevin more for a bottle than he charges me.
That's exactly
Which
right.
means
I mean, if
Kevin's
you want to
on
call
the
that
secondary market.
That's secondary.
then maybe, but no.
So purchase to resell
yes,
and flip. And,
That's yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, the goal with anything, obviously, you're trying to make as much profit. It's a business, right? And there's different ways of making that money. And some people, they will sell one or two bottles for a astronomical amount of money because they know somebody's going to come along and pay it.
Yep.
Whereas somebody else might sell it at a much cheaper price because they know that people are going to come there and continue to buy their other goods there, where your bourbon hunters might not go to that store but once or twice a year.
Right.
So it's
Typically,
a loss leader.
if you're a bourbon hunter, you're not going to be interested in paying those secondary prices at a liquor store because a lot of times you're kind of in the market to either flip it, trade it, and that. So you need to be able to purchase it at the actual retail price, not inflated by the liquor store.
Sure.
Now, is that can be on a state-by-state basis too, right? Like some states have to sell at
Exactly.
MSRP or whatever?
Control states. Control state is basically a state that there's a handful that the government controls the pricing and
Ohio
is a
Commission.
well-known one.
Virginia.
Yep. But they like all the alcohol comes in basically to the government. The government sets the price, and if it's on the shelf when you walk in the door, it's that price. Everywhere. It's not.
So they're running a lot of stuff out of Ohio. That's what you're telling me.
There has been quite a few bottles that I may or may not have brought back from Ohio.
Almost, two clicks above bootlegging here. That's cool. Interesting. Good to know.
It's more highbrow though.
For sure. So, getting back to the season though, the time of year.
Yeah.
Why not?
It just kind of happens to be so. It really gets kicked off with birthday bourbon. So birthday bourbon is from Old Forester, the same old Forester that everybody knows that, whatever, their grandpa used to mix in Coke or whatever. The same 86 proof or 100 proof, expression of Old Forester, but they do one called Birthday Bourbon. And Birthday Bourbon comes out, I think it's September 2nd, and that is for George Garvin Brown, who's the founder of Old Forester. It's his birthday that day. So he's long gone, but this is
what number would this be? 148 or
yeah, it's his 198th birthday or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the first big one that comes out that's like released, and then they all kind of fall in place after that. You have all the Buffalo Trace, the Van Winkle, and the antique collection stuff comes out. Four Roses does their limited stuff. Heaven Hill gets into I think when a couple of them did it, then everybody else was just like, well, okay, I guess that's when we. And it's also is it October is Bourbon Month or September? September is Bourbon Month. National Bourbon Month.
Either one would make sense, I think.
It's one of the two.
So this is purely more.
I mean, I celebrate year round. So
well, yeah.
Right? Is there every month?
Every
bourbon.
But hold on. So speaking of Old Forester birthday bourbon, we have a birthday boy
That's
on
right.
the podcast
right.
today. Mr.
Jeremy's birthday.
Jeremy, I did not know it was his birthday, but let's pass this. No, we're all drinking it. Pass that around.
Hold on, I gotta take a hit of this before I give it to Katarina.
I gotta test it out for you.
Okay, well that one's yours.
I didn't see the other ones; they're obscured by my.
I hand Kevin a glass. And
Like, hold on, I gotta try
he
this.
drinks out of it.
I'm trained well.
You are. It's great. So what we have here is birthday bourbon from last year. So this is last year's birthday bourbon.
Nice.
And when Jeremy said it was his birthday and we're talking about allocated whiskeys, I was like, you know what?
Happy birthday.
Happy
do a little
birthday, Jeremy.
taste test right here. So here we
That's
go.
for sure. That is. There's a lot of flavors going on there.
Ooh-wee, doggy.
Yeah.
The nose is killer. I'll fill in some airtime.
is.
Go ahead. You guys
it's
enjoy.
the nose is awesome on this.
It's nutty. It's caramely, kind of.
There you go. Look at you.
Shazam.
Shazam.
Kevin.
What do you got, Jared? Pick a word.
It's good. It's tasty.
It's a
is what
word.
I
No,
would say.
good is the worst descriptor for bourbon. So birthday bourbon is usually it's a small lot of barrels. So maybe I don't know, a dozen, 2 dozen,
it's
something like that.
like pecan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's usually very well aged. I don't know. What do you remember?
It's
What
3 words.
You're on fire.
How old this is? 11,
Not
12
off
years
the top
old,
of my
something
head,
like
I
that.
don't
I think
know.
it's between 10 and 15. I'm not sure exactly where.
Wow,
But
dynamite.
yeah.
I keep going back and forth and accidentally sniffing my microphone.
Which
It
is
does
not
not have.
because it's
has,
probably the one I got last
it has
time.
earthy tones and
It tastes like what I was drinking at the last
it's like
podcast.
my beard.
Tastes like lunch. You remember George Clinton from Parliament?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got an album called Hey You, Smell My Finger.
I bet that's
Hey,
a
I
doozy.
I watched Chris put his finger in his beer a minute ago, and I
did.
looked at him funny, like, what are you doing?
It's earthy. That is good.
Yeah, right?
There's some kick. What's the proof on this?
Again, I don't know.
in the
It's
front
the
of the
bottle's over there. We'll find out. Hold on. But
High-ish.
I mean, yeah. So like now you guys get it. Like this is what
Yeah.
people are hunting for. Like I mean, it's that and then some. You know, I mean,
Okay,
that's,
so the timing then is far more of a marketing thing than a chemistry thing. So things so this just didn't become available out of the cask at this point. They timed it out to release it to the market.
yeah. Odds are that was in the dumped out of the barrel. I'd say 5 or 6 months before, you know, and then it was bottled, labeled, and sent out, and then finally it shows up at the retailer door, you know, at our door. Do you have info on it?
I do. This one is aged. This is 2021, correct?
Yes. Yep.
2021 Old Forester Birthday Bourbon is 104 proof. So
It actually drinks warmer than
it's
that.
a little
I feel
warmer,
like.
I thought,
Yeah.
than 104. I was going to say probably somewhere around like 117 or something like
Yeah,
that.
I was guessing higher.
Definitely like
Shoot, our Wilderness Trail ride was 106 proof, and I feel like it drinks softer than this.
Yeah,
but
that's pretty strong.
that doesn't mean really anything necessarily. I mean,
The nose is comforting.
does it say that on your notes?
Yes, right there. But if you look, I think part of you're saying the proof and the age statement on it, right?
Yeah.
12 years.
Nice.
12 years. They only made had up to 119 barrels of this.
119. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I said a dozen or two, so I was off.
Yeah.
But Still, that's not very many.
I mean, 12 years is a long time. I think that's where you're getting maybe a little bit more of that.
The barrel character
the nose
kicks in, yeah.
And that flavor is just
the nutty,
more all around
it's insane.
mouthfeel.
It is so good.
And
It's complex.
a roller coaster.
Very complex.
And we're sitting here trying to hold a podcast, but like if we could just be alone for a couple minutes and really dig in and dive into this thing, I mean,
Hold on, I'll
be
be right back,
It'd be
guys.
amazing.
He needs to be alone.
I'm going to go be alone.
I need to be alone. I'm
bourbon.
going to go to the bathroom.
I mean, this is just.
It's awesome. And
It's
thank
a
you very
roller
much.
coaster.
Thank you very
Yes.
much.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
Happy birthday.
you didn't have
Yeah.
to do that, but
There's
it's
almost
always
a-
nice to get your
Yeah.
birthday bourbon on your birthday. That's what some people they look for a bottle. I'm searching for that myself.
Yeah.
I've not yet found one in the wild because I'm not going to be one of those guys who pays the astronomical
Right.
prices. I'm
Right.
I'm not in it typically to flip things. I
Sure.
want to drink it and enjoy it.
Exactly.
But I'm looking for a bottle, so
If anyone listening,
yeah, if you have one, I might pay a little bit more, but yeah, like, I want to have it so on my birthday I can have my small pour of birthday bourbon,
Right.
or
There
on my
you go.
kid's birthday you
Kevin,
have.
Yes.
We need
birthday.
to always have guests on whose birthday it is.
For sure.
I think this is a good
so I
move
can
here.
bring out
Yeah.
all the birthday bourbon.
Yeah. This,
I see what you're trying to do, Jared.
I'm almost getting a little vanilla at the end, too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Dude,
so
that's 5.
is this
That's
an
5 descriptors.
I mean, Kevin is on fire here. Is this an allocated bourbon? Is that what we
yeah.
would call it?
Absolutely,
And,
yeah.
And that means
You don't-
you were allocated a number, or
Yes.
your distributor was allocated a certain
Both.
number? Okay.
Both. The distillery allocates a certain amount to the state, and then the distributor is in charge of the entire state normally. And in this case, it is. And that distributor looks at basically how much Old Forester you've bought and how you support the brand and all that
interesting.
stuff.
So you
and
can
then they
alter
decide,
that by your
Yeah, I
purchasing
mean-
habits.
Oh, for sure.
Projecting that if you will possibly sell more again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a thank you for supporting the brand, and it's also a hey, let's keep this relationship going.
And you
So-
obviously have a market, so
I'm
here
sure
you go.
it depends
We
on the
sell out Old
brand
Forester, yeah.
and the bourbon but is an allocation like 1 or 2 or an entire case?
For
or
me,
a
this
crate
year it was, I believe, 2 bottles.
of this.
Yeah,
Wow.
of this. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's it for the year. So if I've done a good enough job this year, I may get another 2 bottles. But one year they did it, and they said sorry, we had these 100 barrels lined up to empty for birthday bourbon, and we started dumping barrels, and there were plenty of those 100 barrels that were empty. They're in there so long that they're literally dried up. There's
Wow.
no juice in them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just raise the price on all the rest
So
of
if
them.
people
It
wanted
does,
to make
yeah.
sure
Well,
they
it lowers
can,
your allocation. So instead of getting 2, you're lucky if you might get 1. You know.
yeah. So if people want you to be able to have some highly sought after whiskeys behind the bar,
Gotta drink the
they
cheap
should
stuff.
come in and buy some bottles.
That's really it. You hate to say it like that, but that's honestly what it is. If you sell enough of their lower end products, or we're a bar, so if we put Old Forester in some of our drinks or whatever for a while, like that is how you move some product. They like to see the support of the brand, but like that's really what it's all about, is how much of their other regular stuff can you move. If a brand has like a vodka or a gin that they can like put out right away, and they don't even have to put it in a barrel and wait. Oh man, if you can sell a bunch of that, then you're way up there.
You got a friend, yeah.
Yeah. We
So-
only sell Stumpy's vodka and
Right.
gin, so we're way up there with Stumpy's. But
Yeah. Now, when you get 2 bottles of this is not something that you are selling by the bottle to people. This is behind the bar. You're selling by the pour.
This does not make this
This
does
is
not
just,
make
just for the podcast.
So you're not going to exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah,
if you
it's
want to
just
start
for
a
the podcast.
podcast
I hope,
and get
yeah.
Chris on it, then okay. But you won't be able to come in here and buy a bottle of Forester birthday.
No.
Yeah.
I don't see that ever happening.
Exactly.
Is it wrong that I enjoy the smell factor almost equally?
Some
to the
No, not at
bourbons,
all wrong.
I'll pour about as much as what's in my glass right there, and I'll just kind of smell it and maybe sip every once in a while. But that's all I need to do.
Right through the nose.
I can just totally just smell it, and
It's so good.
It is.
It's awesome stuff.
It smells like a good time I had at some point, I guess. I don't know. There's something going on here. Well,
Right.
we do live in a world of premiums,
Yes.
where certain things are prices are. I mean, it's part of capitalism, supply and demand, and the whole thing. I don't know if you saw recently on social media, but there was a Chevrolet dealership that got flamed to the end for adding like $100,000 to a new Corvette just as a dealer premium.
Nice.
And they got called out, and they were at risk of losing their license, their franchise essentially from Chevrolet for doing that. But in this case, I guess certain states they can't do that. Ohio, they can't do that.
Right. But we could do that.
You could do that.
We could totally. Okay, so and this is what a lot of liquor stores will do. Like I could get my 2 bottles in or whatever, and I could put them on the shelf, and I could charge what's secondary right now for birthday bourbon.
Let's start with retail.
What's retail? Yeah,
retail for the 2021. What I've seen anyway, just from different apps and people out there. It was $130, $129.99 for you to purchase it. Like
retail.
That's what it would cost me or you.
Sticker price.
On
Retail price.
Sure.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's a lot of money for many people, and for a price for a bottle of bourbon, that's a 750 milliliter bottle. If it's 750 or 700,
It's 750. Yeah.
and so.
But it's yummy.
But the secondary value of that, I just saw one the other day going for approximately $650.
Don't tell them. Don't give any more.
$650, I believe, is the.
Fellas, I'm going to need that whiskey back.
I'm incorrect. I said $650. $850.
Oh my God! It's getting better.
I'm going to need it back soon
for a 2021 Old Forester birthday bourbon.
No wonder I like it so much.
And these are the prices that you're going to hear from me are more locally.
Yeah.
And because it's different nationwide.
Sure.
And so within that number, obviously, like somebody I'd pay $850 all day for that thing because they know they can sell it then for $1,000 to somebody else.
Sure.
So there might be anywhere from a 10%, but most of them we're talking about like a 20% discount locally from people who are trying to flip it. They want to get it to people, but they don't have to want to ship it, which by the way is illegal because you don't have a liquor license.
Right.
But that's all like undercover, right? That people do this. And
we won't tell anyone.
No, this whole podcast.
But it ain't me. I don't sell. I don't sell. I don't flip.
Yeah, I promise. No one cares. But no, so I could get my 1 or 2 bottles, and I could put a $800 price tag on it. And look, I'm still the nice guy because I'm charging $800 instead of $850.
Facts,
right? But,
yeah. So,
but what fun is that?
Now you mentioned that it's illegal to ship.
Also sell because I don't have a liquor license. I personally could not sell you liquor because I'm not.
So is that how that goes? Even if, so, I go to my local store, I buy a 12-pack of beer. I don't want it, and I can't sell it to my buddy. Just
legally, no.
Legally, no.
Not supposed to. But
wow.
So they're obviously not worried about you doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Not in mass quantities or anything. Also.
Right.
So when you're referencing some of these market values, these are from enthusiast apps and sites and groups and all that nonsense. But you can't really.
Nonsense.
It's not nonsense, Kevin.
Well, but
we're doing a whole podcast about it. It's not nonsense.
That part's not.
It's
this
important.
is serious. It's not like though you can click and buy it unless it's from First Market and whatever you call it.
No, I could click and buy something and. Really, it's just messaging somebody. Typically, it's social media. We're going to find a lot of this stuff. It's pretty covert. There's a lot of acronyms. So, this is OFBB 21.
Sure.
And so it's Old Forester birthday bourbon 21. I just put out there.
I'm get shipped on the Underground Railroad.
I'm in search of, but you didn't write in search of like ISO OFBB 21, and I say the price I'm willing to pay. Somebody says, "I got you."
But there's no like Amazon legit above board marketplace to go buy market value.
There are some. I mean, there's
but even a lot of those are secondary pricing.
Yes, they are because Grizzly, I think, is one I've heard of. I don't use that, but I think you can buy
Drizzly,
stuff.
Seal Box.
Yes, Grizzly. I said Grizzly.
Yeah.
There's stuff like that for both bourbon and beer and things of that nature. But so there are places that are above the fold, if you will, or they're above the table. They're letting people know what they're doing, and they're getting that premium, and it's okay because they have the liquor license.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They got the license. Yes. It's not some guy in his backyard, just buying and selling.
And they're what they're really doing is taking advantage of like the. So let's say Jared. Tells his wife, like, I love Pappy Van Winkle 15-year. Whatever it takes, I want that Pappy Van Winkle. I
told her that.
Did you really? I want Pappy Van Winkle 15-year for my birthday this year. If I want anything else, that's what I want. And, she's going to search around. She's going to try to look. She's like, oh, shoot, well, I can find one. It's right there.
It's not on Amazon.
What's Pappy 15?
Pappy 15?
Yeah.
The latest market locally I've seen was $2,500 a bottle.
Man.
So
$2,500 a bottle.
You're going to have to wait a few birthdays, Jared.
Okay, so
You'll have to
someone
bank a few birthdays. But
can you
that's how this
explain
stuff sells,
kinda
though, is
why
because you
that
get a
is?
wife that's like, well, I have to get that. I have to get it.
I have to have it
Yeah.
for him. My wife is not
for
that
you.
person.
Yeah, way to go.
So, okay, what makes it that expensive? Is it that they don't make enough, or
Yes.
and they do that on purpose?
Well,
Or they
yes.
just-
The
okay.
15 that we're talking about, and then these numbers, like besides the 2021, I just know that's the year, but the 15 is aged for 15 years,
Right.
And so that is something that was put into the barrel 15 years ago with the intention of going out to market to people
In
15 years. And so how much of that as a business model do you want to sit on product for 15 years?
Where most of their bourbons, their regular middle to bottom shelf bourbons, are 2 to 4 to 6 years. You know what I mean?
Even 6 and 4. That's
That's still a long time.
a risk factor.
Yeah.
So when did this boom happen? How long ago was it that the bourbon boom took off?
2005-ish?
The bourbon,
10-ish? Between 5 and 10, yeah.
So we're at that point right now where these 15-year bourbons would be
so if-
multiple years of them would be coming off.
If at that point they recognized
Planned
it
for that,
and
yeah.
decided to, which they did not.
Right.
Buffalo Trace right now is finishing up their whatever $1 billion expansion. When we were down there, that we talked about that, and it's just getting finished up. So that happened how many years ago? 15, 20 years. And now they're like, okay, this is sustained. We should probably expand.
Now, does that mean there won't be, in 10 years, there won't be these rare bourbons because everybody
I doubt it.
sees it and they go, we're going to make as much as we can.
So Pappy is its own kind of animal,
Yeah.
and I kind of think that they so I don't know how to say this, but long story short, Sazerac is the company that owns Buffalo Trace and the distillery there. But Pappy Van Winkle is its own brand. It's not owned by Sazerac. It's a partnership. So they basically contract with Sazerac and say, I'm going to need this many barrels of my Pappy, for these years. And they may very well adjust those numbers up with Sazerac. They may not, but they may. But that's kind of how that goes.
But they may not.
But they may not.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to say, and they're not gonna come up with those numbers and say, here's what we did this year. They're not gonna tell you how many barrels they have.
Well, they'd rather not because it keeps that MSRP higher.
Yes, and it keeps the
mystery.
Yes, the mystique and exactly keeps that all alive and well, and that's why Pappy is what it is. I mean, it won a couple awards. They couldn't give it away back in the day.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
It used to sit on.
Julian-
I've heard from people that on end caps.
Yeah.
So obviously you put your
Wow.
higher end stuff, on the end caps. You're going to sell it. You want to market it out to people, but it had shelf after shelf after shelf of just Pappy.
Yeah.
If you knew then what you knew now,
Oh my God, you'd be rich
that'd be great. Right? I'd be drinking good bourbon every day.
every day.
So Kevin asked about this earlier. As
And
far
I
as
didn't answer.
well, you started to, or maybe you did. As far as seasons, there seems to be generally 2 seasons, like a spring and a fall. So is that not
Not
the
necessarily
case?
spring, I would
Okay.
say.
That's wrong.
All
That's
right.
wrong.
All right.
It's more. I mean, really, it starts with birthday bourbon on September 2nd, and then
Okay.
they just all fall in line after that. As far as they're hard to get, allocated,
Yeah.
rare bottles. That's when all the distilleries seem to release them. Now there are other distilleries that will release things throughout the year that's not in this little area, but it seems like the majority of them are kind of right here. Michter's is really good about just kind of tossing stuff out here and there. They're toasted and they're
I think it's
aged.
interesting that it's similar to the concept of, in the city you'll have an intersection with a gas station on every corner,
Yeah.
right? Because if somebody needs it, they're there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
If you look at the high-end car auctions, the auction week in Arizona, I think, has 13 auctions going on at the same time because the high rollers go there and they're there. So I think they're tuned up to expect it this time of year, perhaps.
Yeah.
And they're just
Probably.
anticipating it.
Yeah.
As opposed to something that popped up on June 1st and they're like out of left field.
Right.
So if it's hunting season starting
Yep.
up, Is it different for you being a business owner than Jeremy being just a guy who loves bourbon?
It is different, but I still have to beg and see what games I need to play. I mean, when I say games, I mean like how much vodka I have to buy of so and so distillery or whatever, just to meet my numbers, and so and which is illegal, by the way. So like they're not supposed to play that game.
Ah, interesting. Okay.
But on the other hand, like what are they really supposed to do? They have, let's say, literally 30 bottles in the entire state to dish out to the bourbon bars. But what how do they decide who gets them? You got 130 that want them. So how do you tell 100 of them that they don't get it? Yeah. Well, you start looking at the numbers. Like, well, how much of the vodka did you sell? How much of the benchmark bourbon? How much of the what I mean? Like that. That's how they decide. So I mean, yeah, it's they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Mm-hmm. We're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because like I don't want to buy that bourbon or that vodka. I just want I want the good stuff. You know. So it's But I realize if I want that is the game that I have to play, and
so come here and drink vodka.
Please do. No, buy a bottle out of the bottle shop. That's how we get rid of that.
Yeah, there you go.
So okay, let's say you're not hunting for George T. Stagg or Pappy Van Winkle, but you are. What are the things that become available now that maybe your average bourbon buyer or whiskey buyer might be looking for right now? What are they looking for? A double oak this or a single barrel that?
So you're talking about like either allocated items that are still kind of available.
Not $1,000.
Yes, not widely hunted or whatever.
Or regular guy stuff.
Yeah, or just delicious bottles of whiskey that you can buy anytime. I'm looking at Rare Breed from Wild Turkey right now. Yep. I mean. If I was on a deserted island and just had Rare Breed to drink the rest of my life, I guess other than like water, I'd probably need water
a little bit,
or my life wouldn't be very long. But I could totally survive with just Rare Breed and be perfectly happy.
Okay.
I mean, and that's available everywhere all the time. It's whatever, $50-$60. It's high proof. It's great stuff. So those bottles are out there. Knob Creek is great. I mean. You're talking the bigger distilleries that are able to put out some older whiskey, sell it for a fair price. What do you have as far as that kind of stuff goes? What are you thinking?
It's still allocated, but it's not like only in September or November, whenever you're looking. But like you can still get E.H. Taylor. Everybody wants E.H. Taylor. Yep. It's an allocated bottle, even coming to your bottle shop or even to any like other local establishment that it has bottles behind the bar.
Right.
People want E.H. Taylor. It has the name recognition.
It's made at Buffalo Trace.
Yep,
it's
and
one
it
of
has
those
that yellow
bottles.
tube that it comes in. A lot of the marketing stuff. But you can find, I would say, your E.H. Taylor small batch.
Yeah.
Pretty regularly. I've probably already picked up this year at retail. And I don't pay a whole lot of extra for that because it's readily available. Probably somewhere between 5 to 10 bottles this year already.
Nice.
Just like randomly out and about. And a lot of it I end up giving to somebody else, or somebody who's looking for a bottle. They don't have one. I'm like, okay, well, I paid this for it. Give me $5 more just for my time to go pick this up or
some
do
people
the hunt.
Don't have the time to just go look for that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, so are you literally just like, if you have an extra 10 minutes,
I stop somewhere.
Stopping somewhere?
Yeah.
Just
whether it be a liquor store or
around and
a grocer or, any type of other bottle shop, and make those connections.
Texting pictures of the selections to your buddies saying, hey, I'm here.
Sometimes
with your thumb over the price tag.
Sometimes no. There are social media groups. And
how bad do you want this?
I've said this to many people, like, if you post this to a certain social media group, I will never text you again in my life because it is one of those things that, because once it goes out there, and people probably figure out what I'm talking about, but I don't care. But in the end, like, if it goes to this site, it's gone.
Done. Yeah.
And so, like, I will send out a group text with a couple guys. I'm like, hey, I found the other day a store pickup Eagle Rare. Total Wine and Fairview Heights had it.
Nice.
And it's like, had boxes of it just sitting out there, and it was like a store pick. It was
sweet,
$39.99, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to go grab one. So, and if I can't, I just text my mom. My mom picks up my bourbon.
Hey, Mom.
That's good, Mom.
I didn't get my text on that one.
Yeah, what the heck, Jeremy?
I was at school, so it was like it was already a group text. So I apologize.
You got to text
I got
Mom.
you. Yeah, I got you next time.
So I know as with anything, there are people who probably buy and sell and don't even consume. They're just middlemen, just trying to make a profit here and there, a little buck. I would think that, if you have the opportunity, you buy 2, sell 1, drink 1 kind of thing, put one on the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, that's what some people do. I personally will try sometimes to, if I get those 8 bottles, say, of EH Taylor small batch, I'll sell them retail. Probably what I've paid is $35-40 is about what it's going for retail. I can sell them as much as on a everyday basis, 70. I could see going for 90 to 100. So I'll put them out there, and I'm not doing it to price gouge anybody, but I'm trying to trade up. So I'll make an extra $50. So I make an extra $50 on 4 bottles. That's 200 bottles or $200.
Yeah.
Now I can go buy my $220 bottle of Weller 12 year.
So you just flipped your whatever.
I'm trying to get
many bottles for
yes, because I don't want to pay the secondary, but now I end up paying secondary because that cash flow obviously maybe hypothetically exchanged hands between people to get that money for that other bottle. But
you'd obviously prefer to buy your Weller 12 at retail and not have to do any of this junk. But
you can't find it.
Here you are. So
but there was one that was found today in the St. Louis side of the river. I don't know what store because people don't tell you that whenever you see these posts.
Well, and they don't get them. I mean, so I've heard from our distributor that it doesn't matter the size of your liquor store or your establishment. When it's time for Weller 12, if you get 1 bottle, everyone got 1 bottle, or you get 0 bottles. So like if you got 1, you got as much as Total Wine or Randall's or any of the big liquor stores. Like you got as much as they did.
I've got a golden ticket.
That's kind of how it is. I mean, it really is. I've had heated arguments with my salespeople over this stuff. I mean, it really is insane.
It gets intense.
I've
been there, not for yours, but for other people's, and I'm like, oh, that's how that works.
Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, my focus is to keep the bar back full. Anything extra that I can get out of a salesperson, I put on the bottle shop, and it goes to everybody. But I want to keep my bottle shop, I want to keep the bar back full. So that's for on-premise drinking. So I want people to come here and be able to have a nice, big, good quality selection of whiskey to try. That's the goal. And when you got to play these games and something doesn't come through that was supposed to or whatever. And, they can tell you all this stuff 2 weeks ahead, because a lot of the times you order 2 weeks ahead. And then, whatever walks in the door, like that is the point where that's what you got. It's not any other way. Like, oh, I promised you this. Well, yeah, but if you promised it and it didn't show up, you're still not getting it because it's gone.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And that's, there have been debates and again, heated arguments, and it's just like, dude, you don't know what that's doing. Like I'm trying to be a good bourbon selection place, and I can't do that unless I have XYZ bourbon.
So you got to kind of watch your promises.
You kind of do. You really do. And if something didn't show up, you kind of got to be like, hey, I mean, whatever. That didn't show up, but you owe me one or something.
The last thing you want to do in a business like yours where people come in to have a good time is be the bearer of bad news or let somebody down.
Sure.
So I imagine the strategy, as hard as it would be to not say anything and then just be Mr. Surprise and go, look what I got.
Yeah.
Instead of, nope, didn't come in.
Yeah. And that's, hardly ever is it a situation where someone is like, you got to get this bottle for me so I can drink at your place. It's not like that. It's more of I need to get it on my shelf so it is impressive and people remember and want to come back again and again and again. Bring friends and say, hey, dude, you should have saw this. Stubborn German had this bottle. You need to come up and let's try it.
And you have that. You do have that here. Like I think there are. There's obviously. Everybody has their own money. They can spend it where they want to spend it.
Sure.
But you have such a great selection here. And
Thank you.
That's not just a plug here on the Stubborn German podcast. Because I know that
good place for it.
Many people, obviously listening to
this,
probably are frequent customers of yours here. But for the people out there who are not frequent customers, you got to get down to Waterloo and check out this bourbon selection, because I'm just looking at the wall right now and I see Old Fitz, I see Weller products, I see store picks from, or single barrel picks from 1792 that we just had recently. That was awesome.
Oh yeah,
and of course we have our own barrel pick sitting right here in front of us.
Exactly right there.
We went on the Wilderness Trail. So we also have something for everybody.
Mellow corn, so don't forget that.
Absolutely, we love the mellow corn.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy who is he's my bourbon guy. Everybody's got a bourbon guy.
You got a bourbon guy?
I do have a bourbon guy.
It's
not me.
It's not you. It's a different bourbon guy.
But, okay.
And
you're my bourbon guy.
He's he's over in St. Louis, and he loves coming here because of your bourbon selection and the prices. So you're not by the pour. You're not kind of raking people over the coals. So.
That's the idea. You want people to have a good time while they're here, and you want them to come back. So
this is definitely not Fight Club for bourbon. It's not underground and you can't say anything. This is a happy public establishment.
Well, that's
you come
before
here
we
and enjoy
open. Is when Fight Club. That's when I talk to the salespeople.
Now, I might fight you for the rest of your birthday bourbon you got sitting
I'm
right
still
there.
working that
I'm eyeing it up.
Along those lines, though, so we've been drinking the bourbon of the week, and I won't name drop it because I'm about to trash it a little bit. It's very good. No, it's a very good selection.
Here we
go. But as Kevin keeps saying, the nose, especially on this birthday bourbon, is just light years beyond.
It's amazing.
12-year bourbon versus a 4-year bourbon. I mean, and it's a rye whiskey. Bourbon of the week is a rye whiskey this week. So
and it's
not even bourbon.
It's not even bourbon.
It's got some sweetness in it. All right, that's 6.
Sweetness. There you go.
Yeah.
I just need to write some tasting.
It's got a little bit of mustard flavor.
No,
I
didn't get any mustard. Close.
I got 6 that were accurate.
Yeah.
Even
you
better.
didn't just make up flavors.
This is pretty remarkable for sure.
Yeah.
So the other nice thing about this establishment is it's not a technical, just a bar. If you are an enthusiast, you can come here and you can sip something and talk about it and learn about it instead of just, somebody hands you a drink and go drink it.
For sure. And I took a lot of time and put a lot of thought into our bourbon flights, which is a great way if honestly, if you're listening to this and have never been here before, I just don't even understand that situation.
They live in Slovenia.
It's possible.
That could be, yeah. But thank you for listening. But when you come here, and if you're a bourbon enthusiast, there's a whole page on the menu. You flip it open, and it's got bourbon flights. And it's 6 different half-ounce pours, and they're ranging from about $20 to up to $50, $60 we have a high-end flight. So, it depends on what you're into. But we've got 7 or 8 different flights. We have a Stumpy's flight. We have a beginner's flight. We have single barrel flights, all that kind of stuff. So my dad's here.
It is a good way to.
My stepmom, hi.
It's a good way to dip your toes in the water and try
really
a bunch of different things at once.
Yeah, and I, sometimes we only have a split second to actually talk to people as they come up to the bar. But I wish that was one thing that people kind of really got into a little bit more, because it's a great way to try some new stuff.
Now, when you plan your bourbon flights, does this happen? So if we're approaching a weekend, is this something that you figure out on Wednesday, or do you look at the stock on Saturday and say this is what it's going to be? Or
no. They kind of stay there. So when I put a bourbon on a bourbon flight, that means I'm going to be able to probably get that bourbon, or I have enough of it that I was able to hold back, and that's why it's on there. Some of these bottles that are, here's your one bottle for the year, they don't make it to the flight.
Put on a flight. No,
because it doesn't make sense. So we update them every 3 or 4 months, I'd say. But I don't know.
Is there, and forgive me if I didn't pick up on this, but maybe on one of the social channels, is there a definition of what we're seeing in the flight? A little story behind them?
Well, it's not on the social channels, but maybe it should be. Maybe it can be.
An idea too.
Yes,
man, earn it.
We got to think of this. Yeah. Okay. But no, on the menu itself, there's a quick explanation, or sometimes the title. It's like one is our barrel picks. So obviously it's our barrel picks.
But
we have 3 of those.
Just coming out of that.
Yeah.
What you were saying, that you wish you had more time to share the stories behind them all.
Yeah.
That might be an interesting way to do it.
But you do that some with your tastings. It's been a little while since you've had a tasting.
Yeah.
But Chris
I've got some good ideas coming for that.
Discuss
one of them
all of the ones. Yeah, right?
Yeah. I think there's a wilderness trail tasting in our future. I was able to snag a bottle of their new 8-year
Ooh, interesting.
bourbon, which was they just came out with their 6-year about 2 years ago. Right?
Fun with numbers.
Doing the math.
Right.
Yeah, look at that.
The worst.
Now, I
dad
feel
joke
like
ever.
we should do a little shameless plug. We've got Jeremy with us here.
Yeah, we
three
should.
of us were on the
Wilderness
Kentucky
Trail
Wilderness
pick.
Trail
Yeah.
pick. And we recently got in our pick, and the bottles are here.
a couple weeks ago. Yeah,
And it's kind of a hidden gem. And
It is.
I was talking
Yeah.
to Jeremy a little bit about this. So what are some of the reasons why it might not fly off the shelf, so to speak, right?
I mean, in my opinion, just because it's a rye whiskey instead of a bourbon, that automatically scares a few people off.
Just the word bourbon will sell it versus rye makes people nervous.
Yeah,
or whatever.
it's almost like in beer, like people that are just like, "Well, I don't do IPAs."
Right.
Like,
EPAs.
IPAs,
We
as they're
covered this the last
in the
episode.
biz. Yeah.
I don't do IPAs. Well, I mean, do you not do them because like you've honestly like tried 7 or 8 of them,
Right.
and you're like, well, I've tried 7 or 8, and I just these were all supposed to be really good examples, and they're just really not my jam.
Yeah.
Like I get that and I respect that, and that's fine. You don't like IPAs, IPAs.
EPA jam would be bad, by the way.
Yes.
Bourbon jam, good.
But if it's a situation where like, bitter beer, whatever, you haven't tried
Right.
IPAs. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you just haven't even given them a chance. And I mean, I have good friends of mine that have switched over to the IPAs. Another Andrew Glessner reference.
Yeah, there you go.
10 years ago, it was Bud Light or nothing, or Bud Select or nothing, and now it's stouts, it's IPAs, and
And expanded the
yeah,
lab's
I mean,
horizons.
you just kind of got to try it. It's not so anyway. Bourbon and rye is kind of the same way. So like if you say I'm just not a rye person, like, well, have you had good rye, or do you just assume that you don't like it because it's different and scary? I don't know. Also, it's not a well-known distillery.
It's not a brand
they're
that
new.
everyone recognizes.
Their very oldest
Yeah.
stuff is literally 8 years old, so it's not
Yeah.
like Jim Beam where they've been there for 100 and something years. This is not what your grandpa drank, so they weren't around.
Yeah.
And isn't it one of the farthest east?
It's southeast
Southeast
on the Bourbon Trail.
On the Bourbon Trail, like
I think it
so
is
it might be one of those where you're going on the Bourbon Trail. You're not going to get there because it's at the far end.
But don't sleep on it. I wouldn't.
No, it's awesome.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
skip that tour.
Loved
Yeah,
it.
We
Loved
can
it.
tell you that
Pure.
this whiskey stands out. We went on this barrel pick, and this one was head and shoulders above the other 4 others that we tried.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I would call myself one of those people that I was not a rye fan before that trip, and I'm sold. So if you aren't sure, if you're a rye whiskey person, definitely try out this barrel pick.
Yeah, and it's not like a typical rye either. It's not. It's more sweet, which is more like a bourbon. So I kind of always have called Wilderness Trail rye whiskey like a bourbon drinker's rye, if that makes any sense at all. Because it's sweeter, which if it's a bourbon, it's made with corn, so it's sweet.
Yeah.
If it's rye, it's made with rye, so it's more spicy. But this is more like sweet.
And it's not the Old Forester birthday bourbon, but like it has that it has that beginning to end long finish that you're looking for in your bourbons. It's there on that, if I remember correctly. Like, I think I've drank through already one bottle. And I'm not ashamed to say that.
I'm the same.
There's a lot of flavors, a lot of character.
I'm on number 2.
Yeah.
And it's only been out for a couple weeks.
All right, so this birthday bourbon, if somebody comes in and they want to try it, you have enough to. That's it. Huh? You can't. You're not selling it. It's just
Ixnay on the birthday day.
Well, it's 2021. Like, it's 2022, and it's coming out in September.
So hopefully by the
there's
time
maybe
this
your
podcast is out, which is in like 2 days, maybe we'll have
see.
our birthday bourbon allocation in.
So
we
that's
should.
the
we
thing.
honestly
You don't
should
know
get
yet
some-
what your
No,
allocation will be.
It will just mysteriously show up one day,
Oh, wow.
and that's it. Yep.
Do you know if
Okay.
you're getting any yet?
I have no idea.
Okay.
And even if so I used to when I was a younger bar owner, I used to ask, and like I was all over them. Like, hey, let me know how many I get, how many birthday,
And they went,
yeah. First of all, they don't know. Second of all, if you keep calling and texting, they'll tell you a number, which they don't know if it's right or not. They say, I think it might be about like this. And then third of all, whatever shows up is what you get. So it doesn't matter until it walks in the door.
Yeah.
They know you want it. I finally come to peace with that. Is they know I want it. So
is there anybody out there that's like, I don't really want the birthday bourbon?
There
Whatever.
are some people, yeah. And it's,
give it to Chris
it's so
instead.
either they don't want to deal with the rush of all the Jeremys showing up at their place,
Just out of character of what they sell.
yeah, or that too, yeah, exactly.
I mean, if it's, I'm speaking purely hypothetically, but if you've got, a low buck beer bar that just has, bottom shelf stuff, what are you going to do with it?
right.
Your
Right.
customers don't want it.
Right. That's what the owner takes it home and drinks it.
That's what happens. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, are you out there trying to find bourbons that maybe your distiller or distributor can't get or you can't get, but you just want it for your house?
Yeah.
At home.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say that's a yes.
Yeah.
That is a yes. So yeah, if it's for sale in this building, if it's even in this building, it 100% has to come from a distributor.
Right.
I have to buy it from a
Exactly.
distributor. There's no other way to buy it. And that's a very strict thing, and so we don't cross those lines.
But
ever.
just outside that door.
Couple
But
blocks
just
away.
outside the door,
Or
we
maybe
can
the back door.
we can wheel and deal. No.
In the trunk of my truck.
But that's when I go to Kentucky to a distillery, that's what I'm looking for is stuff that I can't buy at home through a distributor already, and I want a fun, unique bottle that I can take home and enjoy long after the trip. So that's the idea of the gift shopping.
Okay, so help me out with this business model again, real fast. The allocation concept.
Yes.
Right. So you're only going to get it if you order it, but you might not get it if it's not available.
Correct.
So the
Correct.
opposite is the opposite true, where they just show up and they go, "Guess what? You owe us for this. You got it."
Yep.
It could be a complete surprise.
Yes, that happens quite a bit too.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So
It is.
when it comes
Usually.
to that,
Sometimes it's not.
like these hard to get single bottle allocations that you get, what is your method to retail those, or is that the one that ends up on your shelf? You pay the guy, you buy it, and it's done.
Well, you're talking like the ones that are surprise. Here it is.
Well, or just
what?
even
Oh,
I
all
would say
of them?
the surprise is one that you weren't anticipating, so you didn't have a plan. I know
Right.
you've got lists and stuff.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But if something just kind of shows up and they're like, "Hey, here you go,"
I mean, those will typically end up on the shelf.
are there any up there right now that are one of one in this establishment?
Oh, yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, quite a few, especially top shelf bourbons. Most of our top shelf bourbons are
That's it.
that. Yeah, it was maybe one, maybe 2, 3 bottles, something like that.
We've got old Fitz up there.
That's a one of one. Yeah,
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. Just about all of them. The Smoke Wagon I have more of. Some of the Bardstown products we get more of because we've done a lot of Bardstown business, so we'll actually get a higher allocation number of those.
Your Weller 12.
Weller 12 is a one of one.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Kevin, I'm still developing my eye, but I come in here with people who are like, they can spot every single bottle. The third row back, 7th one over, that's one.
Larceny
I'd like that.
back there?
Yeah,
Is that the
exactly.
one?
The Larceny Barrel Proof.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just
saw,
Larceny,
you know.
it's Larceny Barrel Proof.
Well, yeah, that's the one that's on the shelf.
And once you know your stuff, obviously the different bottles and labels are pretty identifiable, but yeah, these people know their stuff. This
Yeah, that's the real deal.
bourbon hunting is it's no joke.
Yeah.
I'm kind of torn, and not that this is my decision at all to make, but Chris and I had talked a long time ago about running maybe an LED light behind, the bottles, which would make them stand out, make them a little bit easier to see.
Yep.
But I kind of like the fact that you got to really look through there and spend some time.
And I mean, honestly, we're trying to kind of sort of keep like an old timey
It's got
vibe.
it's got that authentic
They
kind
didn't
of.
have that awesome LED rope lighting back in the
No,
mid
they
1850s when this building was built. So
Yeah.
Like a speakeasy kind of thing,
they
too.
also
you know.
didn't
I
have
do,
Edison 8 LED bulbs like we have everywhere. But
We have talked about you sorting by brand, though, keeping all the different.
I
That was like a
know, I
big
know.
decision to make. Like, are you going to
no, I'm not
sort them
doing
all? I like the way you have it, but when I do see people that have them group like that, it's like, oh, well, that's convenient.
But you know what's cool
see
is
them all right
this
here.
adds to the discovery, and then again to the hunt. You're hunting right there.
Yeah.
You're just poking through and looking around.
Yeah, just
you know?
scouring the shelves. Yep.
And I mean, we do have a list. Like, you can just look at the
There is
bourbon
a
list.
list.
And
You don't have to
it's
look.
very well up to date. We update that every single week. So if it's on the list, odds are we have it.
Okay. Quick question: when you guys, so you print your menu, if you will, every
Yeah.
week,
For the most part, yeah.
and so you've got this interesting cascading paper length,
Right.
Short and then longer.
Yes, yes, yes.
Is it a paper cutter and somebody's manually doing that? Is that the deal there?
K&D Printing takes care of it. I have
So
no
they,
idea.
they will deliver that cut done.
Yeah. We take a walk and go pick it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty damn cool.
It is.
It is cool. Actually,
awesome.
now that you bring that up, Kevin,
Yeah.
it is a neat feature of the brewery it's every time I come in here, it's different.
I get
There's
so
an updated
mad
menu.
when I see people like spilled beer on it or whatever, especially like
Yeah.
a dark beer. I'm just like, you animal, and like
You animal, you schwein.
you schwein. Literally, right before this podcast, this episode was going, I was helping bartend, and I totally spilled like, I don't know, a quarter,
You animal.
quarter of a beer
animal.
on one of our brand new menus.
That's
The
alcohol
menus-
abuse.
The menus are, come out on Tuesday at 4:30. That's when they're
Nice.
And this was Tuesday at 6:30.
I knew there'd be a schedule of when that happened.
Tammy looked at me like, really?
Yeah,
Did you just do that?
No, we didn't. Well, but that explains why it's not a laminated plastic thing that's
Right.
bar proof. It's because these are constantly turning over.
Well,
and-
and how many times you see those laminated menus and it's like, wow, no one's cleaned these in 6 years, you know?
Do you have one that says all out of Stubbornfest?
What a jerk.
I just had to point it out.
Jared, cut that out.
There's
cut that out.
There's a distinct
We're not doing that.
tile missing from the wall up
Not
there.
for long.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's coming Friday.
That's it.
That's right. A few days and you'll have a fresh batch of stuff.
Oh man. Okay, so
wait.
Jeremy, the personal collection extensive.
Not nearly as extensive as other people's.
Well, that's like there are people that have 10 billion.
I'm still searching for a lot of bottles. Like I have a whole list here of different things that are not so readily available that have high astronomical secondary values. So I don't have a lot of these, but I do have quite a few of them as well. I'd probably say somewhere around 100 bottles in the basement.
Nice.
That's a lot.
That is a
For
lot.
sure. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Decent.
That's not a lot.
You were
could
talking
open a
earlier
bar.
about how, like, somebody wants a certain bottle. They, their husband or wife. My wife was like calling around to some of my friends and some of
Yeah.
these social media groups that she knows, and she's
Right.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna try and get him a bottle of bourbon. What should I get?" I'm like, "Well, what do you want to spend?" And she's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "You have no clue what I spend on my bourbon and everything else."
don't tell her,
And
yeah.
I will not tell her. But it's just, I'm like, "Yeah," and she told me the price. To go, "You ain't getting anything."
Yeah.
So-
Such a picture of
Nothing that I
somebody's
want
bar.
anyway. Right?
Yeah.
How often do you come across a bottle that's maybe on your list that you don't pick up because it's too expensive, price too high?
No, probably a lot, right?
Pretty
I
often.
see a lot that
A lot.
are out there. Everybody,
And you're looking a lot.
everybody
so-
has them. I could give you an establishment, but I won't say the names because we're not going to promote anybody else. But there are plenty of other liquor store establishments that they have these bottles, but they are definitely at the secondary value. And
Yeah.
somebody's going to come along; they're going to pay it. Somebody will pay this. If I said that you can
Yeah.
find a bottle of Elijah Craig 18, which they have here, at
Because
Stubborn
somebody's
German.
husband will have a birthday, and that'll
That's
be on
right.
the list.
Yeah, and that's like going for $210. Then somebody's going to pay the $210 because that's
Yeah.
local. And national, they're probably going to get $250 to $270.
Wow.
And so I can ship it and make $60, and that's a good day's work.
You could have somebody pick it up. You mean?
Yes, we don't ship it.
Did they ever go down?
Good question.
I have not seen anything go down recently. You're talking about like when the bourbon boom happened. I'm pretty new to the game, and I've seen just in the past 2 to 3 years when I've been kind of looking at this and watching it, it's only gone up. Stag Junior, for instance. Now, Stag
Sure.
Junior is kind of an anomaly because there is no longer Stag Junior.
It's just Stag.
Yeah, the Stag. Not that Stag, not the gold label stuff.
Right.
But Stag Junior, batch 17, you would think a normal Stag Junior, I think I could have got one for like $150, say, a year ago,
Yeah.
maybe 2 years ago. Stag Junior, batch 17, the last of the juniors, is going for $300 right now. And
Wow.
it's just because it's batch 17. It's not because batch 17 is a higher ABV than another one or
Right.
it's got a better profile. It's just the last of the juniors. And so $300 where you get a batch 16,
crazy.
it's $250. But again, that's $100 more than what I could have got it for a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
But it's special, and recognized in that respect. So there you go. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating. The hunting scene
It is. And it's almost one of those things, you either have to be all the way into it, or you just kind of like close your eyes and
Get
you're just
lucky.
like, yeah, and you might luck into something, which I'm sure happens.
Yeah.
Or you just drink, rare breed or whatever you can find on the shelf all the time. And
All right.
that's any of those situations are just fine.
I have a show idea, and you guys can. It might be Jeremy that is a guest, or somebody else that might be more appropriate. But what if you did a show of? Is it possible to do a show of if you really like this expensive one, this low buck one is going to do it for you?
It's a good question.
You remember when $2 Chuck wine was like super
Right,
popular,
right.
I mean, so is there that kind of thing where it's like this is 80% of the flavor profile, but it's
almost there,
a tenth of the price.
Yeah, but you don't have and it's available
and
all
it's
the
still
time.
enjoyable, still great.
Right.
One of my
There
favorites
is that.
Yeah, one of my favorites you have on your shelf as well, right next to the mellow corn, is the Early Times bottle of Bond.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I mean, you get it. It's a 1 liter bottle. It's not a 750. You get a 1 liter bottle, so you're getting a little bit more
Get a stack
bang for
of
your
it.
buck.
Right.
And it's $30 all day long.
Yep.
And you can get it for $30, and I'm like,
That's good.
This is pretty dang good for a.
Well, there are
$30
definitely
bottle.
those hidden
Right?
gems. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a big old Granddad fan. So
sure, for
There's
sure.
114 proof and there's 100 proof, and they're both good. So
Maybe that's the show, is the hidden gems.
Yeah.
Right.
all right,
I will
let's do it.
say, recently I A-B'd Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare, and not that Buffalo Trace is easy to get. It's
Sure.
it should be, but it seems to not be.
It's still
But-
allocated,
but
but it's
when
not.
you can find it somewhere, it's still $27 or whatever. But I honestly, and my palate is not that refined yet, but it was hard for me to tell a difference. Like
Yeah.
I was like, for the price of when you can get Eagle Rare and you're spending $70 or $80, I was like,
Right.
Buffalo Trace is really similar.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. So
Don't pay $70 or $80 for your rare.
Yeah.
Seriously, like again,
Talk-
you can find a
talk-
retail.
Shoot
Jeremy.
Jeremy a text.
I know. I know a guy.
That's what he's saying.
I do see those
Right.
more often than other ones that are
Yeah.
allocated or semi-allocated, but $40 all day, man,
Yeah.
plus tax.
Well, of course.
But it's out. Again, if you get a store pick, maybe a little bit more. But if you're going to find something,
Yeah.
but yeah. But why is that? Why is Eagle Rare better than the Buffalo Trace? It's the age statement.
Yeah.
10 years.
10
yeah.
years.
10 years, man, and the cool bottle.
It is cool.
The word
bottle.
rare goes a long way.
And the word rare. They've built in the exclusivity.
Yeah, that's right. Next is going to be Eagle Rare exclusive.
Speaking of rare, we rarely get the German word of the day correct.
Correct.
Let's see what happens this time.
Oh, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Well, the German word of the day was Jagen.
Jagen.
Jagen. Nice and simple.
And let's see, Jeremy, our guest, says it's a yolk,
The Jagen.
Like an egg yolk.
egg yolk. Kevin says it's a light springtime jacket. I don't really know. Just maybe a bunch of...
Word for word.
And Jared says it means annual/yearly.
Yearly.
Jagen actually means to hunt.
To hunt, of course.
I almost changed mine to like a deer, like Jägermeister or something like
yeah.
this.
See, I was thinking
Yeah.
that might
Yep.
That's why I said Jaeger.
Yeah.
I
You guys
asked if it was
talked this out or
Jagen.
yeah.
Close. Right there.
Close.
Oh, my German teacher friend would be so disappointed in me.
We're good at disappointment.
Once
here.
again.
All right. Well, one thing that did not disappoint was this conversation. Thank you so much,
Definitely.
Jeremy, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Yeah, happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Anytime. Thank you for the birthday bourbon.
You are welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having a birthday.
Thank you for having a birthday.
I could have
We
some,
I can drink
appreciate
some
it.
birthday bourbon.
because this was a whole new level. Katarina would approve.
Yes.
Oh, cousin Katarina.
Cousin Kat, Trina. So if you dug this, Google Katarina Witt and subscribe to the podcast while you're at it. And
The worst podcast ever.
of course, come on down to Stubborn. Try the stuff that we've been talking about. It's good. Does the body good. And like we like to say, for Mr. Chris Ron, Jared Chasson, and Jeremy Witt, Prost.
Prost.